there was a client who I was already making house calls for a few years, you know, and the dog was a Yorkie poodle mix, and you know, he's been my client for many years, and you know, one day I went to his house and I went to groom him, and when I was drying him, as I always do, you know, I was looking through the coat. You know, the dryer for me, you know, does the job of drying, and I know better to when drying the dog, you know, to be looking out for anything that I find suspicious, you know, health wise, you know. And so I found this one spot on the dog, and I thought it was strange, and it concerned me, and I pointed out to my client. And this dog, it was at the time this dog was getting groomed at a regular schedule of like every 6 weeks. So 6 weeks prior, it wasn't there. At least it wasn't noticeable. Um, and so my next visit, I'm drying the dog, and I realized this thing was there, and I pointed out to my client. Sure enough, he took the dog to a scan specialist, and it was cancerous, you know. So um, the next visit, you know, next time I went back there, my client told me, he said, you know, thank you for uh, pointing that spot out, and turns out it was cancerous, and dog had a big surgery, and it was removed, and you know, to this day, it's been about 2 to 3 years after. I'm still grooming the dog, you know. So this is just another you know, example of what an experienced groomer can provide to your dog's life. You know, because we're caring for the animals and health in general. You know, that's the same thing that I did when I was a wild animal keeper. You know, we were, you know, in charge of those animals who were in captivity. And when we did, you know, at one point I was feeding, doing the sea lions feeding over at Central Park Zoo, and you know, you get up to the island where the animals are, and in doing the feeding, when we're touching the animal's body, you know, we're actually looking for any kinds of bumps and cuts, you know, anything that we can, you know, that we find suspicious, and point it out to our vets, you know, and have them, you know, inspecting the animals, you know, and that's how we may save our animals' lives. And so that's the same thing, you know. I'm an animal caretaker. I'm not just grooming dogs to make them look, you know, cute. I know I can do that, you know, but my job goes beyond, you know. And so I'm proud to, you know, to provide that, you know, to be that person, you know, who it's important, you know. My job often, you know, will be sort of like helping, you know, the animal's life. You know, I'm working sort of like for, you know, your veterinarian, because I can see something and point it out. The owner will take the dog to the vets, and the vets will, you know, give the right, you know, whichever diagnosed, you know, may be, you know, whether it's an ear infection or an anal gland infection, which is a big deal. That's why it should be maintenance there. You know, stuff like that in general, you know, broken nails, you know, a secondary infection. So, you know, grooming, needless, you know, without having to say much more, it is very important.